Okay, so far we have talked about various data types in C#. We looked at primitive types like integer, character, float, bool, and a few non-primitive types like classes, structures, arrays, and strings. And I told you earlier that both strings and arrays are classes. So I showed you during one of the demos that the string keyword maps to the string class in .NET. And same goes for the array notation that maps to the array class. Now, that brings us to an interesting topic. In C#, essentially we have two main types from which we create new types. We have classes on one side and structures on the other side. So every type you have learned so far is either a class or a structure. So all primitive types are structures. Remember I told you use structures for small types like RGB color and point. Well, all primitive types are very small types. They take no more than 8 bytes. That's why they are internally defined as a structure in .NET. Arrays and strings are both classes. We can also create custom classes like person or calculator. Now, in C#, these classes and structures are treated differently at runtime in terms of memory management. And that's what I'm going to cover in this lecture. I want you to understand what happens under the hood in memory, so if your program does not behave the way you expect, you'll be able to troubleshoot it. Structures are what we call value types, while classes are reference types. When you create a variable that is a value type, a part of memory called stack is allocated for that variable. This memory allocation is done automatically, so you don't have to worry about it. When this variable goes out of scope, it will immediately get removed from the stack by runtime or CLR. With reference types, however, you, the programmer, need to allocate memory yourself. Remember the new operator? We use the new operator with classes. So when we use the new operator, we tell the runtime to allocate memory to this object. And this happens from a different area of the memory called heap. This memory, unlike stack, is more sustainable. So if you create an object and that object goes out of scope, it will continue to exist in the heap for a little while. It won't be removed immediately. There's a process called garbage collection, which is done by runtime or CLR that takes care of this. So once in a while, CLR looks at the objects that are no longer used and removes them from the heap. Now, this was the theory behind value types and reference types. What you need to know in pragmatic terms is when you copy an object to a new variable, depending on whether that object is a value type or a reference type, there will be two different outcomes. And it's much easier to show this in code. So let's flip over to Visual Studio and see how copying value types and reference types are different.